Hey everybody, Brian here for Work to Game Videos, and today we're bringing you a White Mage controller guide updated for the W Cross Hotbar or the W or the double cross hotbar. Like with most of my controller guides, we're going to focus in on three sections. The first section is going to be the layout and the HUD layout and settings section. Second is going to be the W Cross Hotbar layout that I've got with all the skills and where I've placed them and why I've done so, as well as any macros that I might be using. And then in the third section, we're going to put it all together. We're going to talk about a little bit about White Mage, show off some in-game dungeons as well, some boss fights, and talk about essentially your role as a healer, and then if you choose to do some DPS, how that actually helps out your party. So with that, we're going to jump right into the HUD layout and settings section. Alright, so HUD layout and settings is pretty straightforward and simple. You can get to your HUD layout via your Start, System, and then HUD Layout section. And here I'm just going to be using my standard default that I use for pretty much the majority of all my jobs, focusing kind of on this area right here. I've got my focus target bar here on the left and my enemy list, so that way I can see that information prominently. I have my target bar and my progress bar right here, right above, essentially where I've got a lot of things going on. I've got hotbar 3 here. It doesn't have to be 3. It's just a matter that I've got a hotbar laid out right here, which will allow you to set any actions to that. And I like to put a couple actions right here so they're visibly in my mind at all times. Then I've got my left cross hotbar and my right cross hotbar offset, because then I have my status effects that kind of align with that. Being that I spend a lot of my time looking within this area, I want to be able to have that information returned to me as quickly as possible. Then I've got my cross hotbar that's just kind of sitting right there, my parameter bar, and then I have in this case hotbar 2 and, for various emotes, etc. As a healer, just like in my scholar video, you can see that the party list is right over here on the side, and that's also important to see what's going on with your team. So then from a settings perspective, under system character configuration, and then under hotbar settings, you can see I've got hide unassigned slots. So if I turn that on, you'll see all those little grayed boxes. It's your preference. I don't like it. As well as that I've got on the sharing, I've got it right now where the cross hotbar that 1 through 4 are not shared. So these are job specific, while 5 through 8 are. This is going to be important because I use hotbar 1, 2, 3, and 4 for every job, and then 5 through 8 for basically applies to all jobs. And you'll see that here under the custom section in a second. Under the cross section, I've got a couple of settings here. Always display the W cross hotbar, return to the cross hotbar after W cross hotbar input, and position it separately. And that's what allows me to do that offset right there. And then under custom, I have the expanded controls on, with LT and RT going to hotbar 2 left, which is job specific, and then I've got RT and LT going to 7 right, which is all jobs. So my mounts, minions, my Wanderer's Tales, Limit Break, any kind of targeting that I want to have applied. And then for the W cross hotbar, they're going to 3 left and 3 right, which back in the sharing section are going to be job specific. Now, from your sharing, from your cross, from all of those things, you could always feel free to play around with it and find that what feels best for you. But because I like to try to do things very consistently, job to job, so it's more muscle memory than it is anything else, just find something that works for you. It doesn't ever have to be 3 or 7 or 8 or whatever. It just just something that makes sense for you. And then I am not using or worrying about any of those. The last piece is that enable customization for when weapon is drawn. I only want it to toggle between 1 and 4. So if I've got my weapon out and I press the right bumper, let's say yes, I will only toggle between 1 and 4, as opposed to if I have my weapon out, I press right bumper, it's just going to keep switching between those two. The reason is because most of my stuff is listed here on 1 of 4, and then I have LT and RT to help me get there, and then my double cross hotbar. Because if I go to 3, I've got a lot of empty space, and I could end up getting lost or confused. So there's some method to my madness there. So anyway, we're going to now jump into how I've got my cross hotbar layout, as well as any macros that I might be using. Okay, so starting off on this section, we're going to start with what I have listed here on Cross Hotbar 3. I've got Fluid Aura. That way I can easily just pop over here and pop off Fluid Aura if I desire. I've got Cure if needed, and for some reason I get lost and I want to be able to call that. And then I've got Presence of Mind if I want to be able to execute that, and if I'm on a hotbar that doesn't have those. I thought those were important. But lastly, I have an X-Ether, which, you know, if I need to be able to get some MP back, to be able to get back into healing for any reason, I want to be able to have access to that no matter in what stance I'm in. And then here on the left hand side, we've got Medica. It's a good healing ability. It's got a better healing potency than Medica 2. There's just no regen effect, but you can there is a chance that it's going to be reduced MP for you. So I want to have access to Medica and Medica 2 because I could pop those off at any time needed depending on the situation. I've got Presence of Mind, and then I've got Shroud of Saints listed right there. So that's kind of the up, down, left, right position for the left trigger. Then I've got Divine Seal. I've got Land Curing, which you're going to see is a Z's. So if I pop into my macro section, go look at my Land Curing, you can name this whatever you want. It's going to put, Elysium at the feet of my target, but if I don't have a target, it's going to allow me to put it wherever I want in that case. And then I've got, over here, I've got Nap Time, which is Repose, and we go pull that up. And so it's essentially going to mark the target that I'm marking to sleep, and it's going to tell the party that I'm putting them to sleep, just to help communicate that effectively. And then I've got Turn on the Pain. So if you look at this, it's going to be Cleric Stance, and then it's going to change my hotbar to Hotbar 4. So we'll jump into Hotbar 4 here in just a little bit. Then on the right hand side, I've got where'd my mouse go? There it goes, Aziz. Then I've got Stone Skin, Insuna, Regen, and then over here I've got kind of the wheel of Cure. So Cure, Cure 2, Cure 3, and Tetragrammaton. And so I've got those there because this is kind of, you know, from a healing perspective, insta heal. And then if I kind of Cure 1 could proc Cure 2, which could proc Cure 3. So I kind of have that wheel of curing there. And so just like with any of my healers, and this is just a general note if you play more than one, I like to try to put like Insuna or leeches or whatever. Like I always try to have my debuff remover in the same spot. Just like on my tanking guide, I like to have my stuns in the same spot. So if I, because you're playing multiple of the same type of role, that way there's a little bit of muscle memory to that, which I talked about. Then over here on the right, a couple of things. I got Benediction, Holy, Cure 2, and Tetragrammaton. That way I can easily access and see those abilities if I need to, no matter what stance I happen to be in. So lastly, up here at the top, I've got Virus, Benediction, Aziz, Presence of Mind, and Eye for an Eye. Now I'm not going to actually be clicking on these abilities. These are there just to show me various cooldowns as desired, and you could put any number of abilities here just to kind of you can see that they're bigger, they should be a little bit more visible to you, and that's kind of where that is as well. Now on to Hotbar 4. So I'm going to go ahead and actually you can do it by holding down right bumper and picking forward to switch, but if I go ahead and turn on the Pain, puts me in Cleric Stance, now you can see it moves me to Hotbar 4. Now, it's important to note that if you're going to do this type of build, especially when you're switching stances that's changing your hotbar, it's important that sometimes you could accidentally click this and it not take off Cleric Stance, and you could be on Hotbar 1. So just be very aware of what stance you're always in, because you could be trying to cure and you're like, why am I not curing? And it's just because you're in Cleric Stance, and that can happen for any number of reasons. So there's kind of a risk-reward approach to it. So if you're not comfortable with it, I understand, but just be wary of what stance you're in and what you're trying to do. So with Cleric Stance on, I wanted to kind of have that more DPS-minded role as best as possible. But again, we're going to start here over on the left-hand side. Fluid Aura, I want to be able to easily pop that off if needed. I've got Medica 2 here, and I also have Cure 2 and Regen. Ideally I wouldn't be needing any of these, but for some reason if I needed to pop it off real quick without switching stance, I'd have access to it. Cure, land curing again, and Shroud of Saints for the regen effect as well as for the enmity, the aggro reduction as well. And then turn off the hurt, which would essentially, it's the same thing. Cleric Stance, it just returns me right back to hotbar 1. Okay, so then on the right side, we've got Holy, Stone 2, and Suna. Because no matter what stance you're in, it's not going to be negative to cast Insuna. There's no healing aspect to it. So it's just very, very nice. And then we've got Stone 3, Arrow 3, Arrow 2, and Arrow 1. So you could kind of think of this as the wheel of pain versus the wheel of healing. And so with that, it's like I can be in here, I can pop off any of my arrow spells, I can hit them with any of my stone spells. And so that is, I think, very effective to be able to switch in and switch out from that, as well as be able to, if you want to run in and do some holies as well. Now, there is one last hotbar that I haven't covered yet, and that's hotbar 2. And this is where left trigger and right trigger takes me. So here I've got Protect and Stone Skin 2, really great damage reduction abilities. Eye for an Eye, Benediction, and Holy. And so if I can either get to it via the double tap, Benediction or Holy, or I can get to it here as well. And then I have Swift Cast and Raise Macro, which just tells, it's more kind of a role-playing thing, telling the target that they're getting raised. So it goes from there. And this is, and then I have Sprint in case, especially because as a healer, you don't need TP. You can run, or it's important to run away. It's better to survive and then cast your healing spell than it is to die and then no one's going to be getting heals. So that's hotbar 4, hotbar 2, as well as hotbar, the double cross hotbar layout right there. So there not as many macros as I've had in the past. So before the double cross hotbar, I did a lot more macroing because there's a lot less space for these abilities, but it's really really quite exciting to see and use that. And so with that, the next section we're going to be covering just really generally putting all this together, going in and doing some healing and doing some damage, talking about a couple different situations, as well as just White Mage overall. So stick around. White Mage has been a staple of Final Fantasy and the Final Fantasy universe since the beginning, and it's one of my favorite jobs to play when I play a healer. They have the capacity to put up large DPS numbers as well as HPS numbers, and you have classic spells like Cure, Stone Skin, and Protect to help mitigate damage and obviously restore health. You also have a lot of utility in this game, from being able to put up a lot of regen type spells, from regen itself to AoEs that you can place on the ground, group heals that heal up everyone, really, and then obviously the ability to swift cast spells, to quick cast, and to be able to recover your own MP, and then, things like being able to put dots on a group of enemies, as well as the real classic Holy. Back in my day, I remember what was called White in Final Fantasy IV, but Holy, to really just like punch them in the face. But Final Fantasy XIV's White Mage is also built to help really kind of take down enemies when in a group. From Arrow 3s, AoE dots, and Holy Bombs that stun, it's really a truly risk-reward type of healer because you don't need to heal anyone if the mob is dead. That being said, as your role is mainly a healer, so it helps to really know the fights and to know your abilities. If you ever have one of those oh crap moments, then you really want to burn your insta, and you've already burned your insta heals. Pop Presence of Mind and heal like you've never healed before. Running low on MP, well, try not to get there, but pop Shroud of Saints and get right back in the fight. As a White Mage, your resource is your MP. If this goes away, you're just going to be standing there taking pictures like Prompto. But try not to get there. Anyway, this is Brian for Work to Game Videos. Thank you so much for watching. We really hope you enjoyed it. Hit that like button if you like this video, and leave us a comment below. We do love hearing from you. If you have any questions, leave us those in the comments too. So we'll happily try to answer those as soon as we can. We hope you subscribe if you haven't already, and regardless of whether you're a subscriber or not, we thank you so much for being here and watching. And until next time, we really do hope you have an awesome day. Take care.